Mary Celeste: 6 intriguing secrets of world history that still excite the minds of scientists. We live in an era when everything seems easy to find a scientific explanation. History has been studied inside and out. Most of the terrible diseases that destroyed entire communities of our ancestors have become curable. Technological progress is advancing across the planet by leaps and bounds. At the same time, there are a number of historical mysteries. Scientists have been struggling to solve them for decades, and some can only be called mysticism. While researchers break their spears and argue until they are hoarse, the truth stubbornly remains in the shadows. Discover 6 of history's most intriguing mysteries. Throughout human history, events have occurred for which it was very difficult to find a reasonable explanation. The 20th century brought with it extraordinary technological progress. The development of science has reached such heights that it seems that not a single dark spot should remain in history. However, there are many unsolved mysteries that excite and drive even the greatest minds crazy. 6th story, Mary Celeste. Mary Celeste is perhaps the most famous sea mystery. This is the second most popular ship after the Flying Dutchman. True, unlike the latter, Mary Celeste actually exists. The mystical history of this brigantine is absolutely real, and therefore much more frightening. In early November 1872, the ship left the harbor in New York and headed for the shores of Genoa. On board were 8 sailors and a captain with his wife and daughter. Exactly a month later, it was found drifting and abandoned. The sailors of the British ship Dei Gratia stumbled upon it, which translated from Latin means grace of God. The brigantine's sails were raised, and there were neither living nor dead on board. No signs of distress, crash, or struggle were found. There was no lifeboat. But why did the crew and passengers need to leave the ship for no apparent reason? The situation is simply beyond human understanding. It is human nature to think things through when nothing is clear. This happened this time too. People said that the ship was plagued by misfortunes from the very beginning. It was originally called Amazon, but after a series of misfortunes, including the sudden illness and death of its first captain and a collision with another ship in the English Channel, it was given a new name. As can be seen from its sad end, this did not help the ship. No one could explain why it was necessary to leave the safe ship. There were even versions that a sea monster was involved. There is no scientific explanation for the circumstances of what happened to the Mary Celeste. 5th story, Tunguska explosion. Most people know about the Tunguska explosion, which occurred in 1908 as a result of a meteorite falling. The fireball had a diameter of almost 100 meters. This enormous disaster destroyed about 2,000 square kilometers of taiga and felled about 80 million trees in Siberia. This phenomenon has been classified by scientists as the largest collision between 2 astronomical objects, such as an asteroid and the Earth, in the entire history of mankind. Sounds incredible, however. There is one small catch. For some reason no one noticed this. No traces of a huge extraterrestrial object were ever found. The absence of a crater is also puzzling. Experts believe the object fell from the sky and exploded above the forest before impact, an imperfect solution to a truly unexpected problem. Scientists believe that perhaps it was not a meteorite, but a comet. After all, the latter consist of ice, not stone. This may serve as a possible explanation for the absence of traces of any alien rocks. Scientific discussions on this matter are still ongoing and there is no consensus. This does not prevent everyone who is not too lazy to invent alternative theories that explain what happened. Some of these versions are quite exotic. They range from complex pseudoscientific reasoning to completely wild ones, where the cause is the accident of an alien ship. We will probably never be able to clarify this issue. We are not destined to know the true reasons for what exactly caused the Tunguska disaster. The 4th story of sleeping sickness. Sleeping sickness or African trypanosomiasis isn't the most well-known disease, but lethargic encephalitis strikes fear into the hearts of experts. This mysterious condition is rare these days, but between 1916 and 1930 there was an outbreak of this mysterious disease that spread from Europe. As a result, 500,000 people were affected. According to all data, about a third of them died. So what is this strange phenomenon? At first, doctors did not have a single diagnosis. Later they began to explain this by some strange neuropsychiatric behavior and an overwhelming lethargic drowsiness, which causes a coma-like state, as well as muscle rigidity. This muscle stiffness was a particularly alarming symptom, as even those who survived were severely affected. Although they are sometimes still able to speak to a limited extent, move their eyes, and even laugh, they usually appear as living statues. These people may remain completely motionless for hours, days, weeks, or even years. Today there are few such cases, but the so-called sleeping sickness has left its mark on history. The third story is about the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, the bodies of 9 tourists were found in the ice of the Dead Mountain in the northern Urals, an apt name, as this gruesome discovery is known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, which was named after the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. The death of the Dyatlov group is one of the largest and most mysterious tragedies in the history of tourism and extreme sports. There are about 100 versions of the incident, but none of them have been confirmed to this day. Only hypotheses about the strange and inexplicable death of 9 travelers. On the night of February 2nd, a snowstorm hit the group's overnight stay. For some reason, the tent turned out to be cut through from the inside. There are no reasonable explanations for this fact. People ran out into the freezing cold without outer clothing. The first pair of victims found were lying in their underwear in strange positions. Other members of the group had injuries of varying severity. Some had broken ribs and skulls. Burnt hands. One young man had his tongue removed. The most frightening thing is that there were only traces of the group members at the scene. No traces of the attacker or attackers. The most intriguing thing is that the clothes of the tourists had a high level of radiation. What happened that fateful night? There are still no clear explanations. Scientists are leaning towards the version of an avalanche or infrasound. The version with a sudden avalanche does not stand up to criticism. Infrasound seems much more plausible, a phenomenon where wind interacts with topography to create a barely audible hum that can cause intense feelings of nausea, panic, fear, chills, nervousness, rapid heart rate, and difficulty breathing. But it also does not explain very many of the circumstances of death. Groups